level. Next level.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Mike from Go Cell Phone Repair, and this is the weekly tech hangout where we talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the tech world. And I have a weird thing showing up on my window here. How did that happen? I had to make some adjustments here, and I don't know where that came from. Let's see if we can get rid of this real quick. Is it this? No, that is so bizarre. Hey, Greg M., how are you, man? Glad you could make it today. This is so strange. I don't know why this thing decided to show up for some strange reason, and I don't even see it here. Huh. All right, well, I guess we'll come back to that. Ah, here we go. That's the one. Oh, it resized itself. I see what happens. Ah, you think you're ready, and then, you know, whatever. Anyways, iPhone 10 survives 8 hours underwater, and so therefore everyone should probably go throw their phone in the ocean and just leave it there overnight, because hey, why not? I'm sure that's going to be happening, honestly. Vertu is back with a $4,000 Android phone, and that's nothing. If you take a look at some of the other stuff that they used to make way back in the day, if you haven't heard of them, we'll be talking about that company a little bit tonight. Elon Musk wants to build a giant robot, so that's great news, I guess. I don't know. Flamethrowers first, giant robots next, and earlier he's warning about artificial intelligence taking over the world, so sometimes it's hard to tell where that guy's coming from, but he is successful. There's no arguing that. 45 out of 50 electronics companies illegally void warranties, and this is something we need to help spread the word on so that customers don't think that they have to do whatever these big companies are telling them and that they only have one option when it comes to repair. Palm launches a new phone. Yes, Palm, remember them? That lives up to the company's name. And Samsung in-display fingerprint sensor coming to the Galaxy S10, possibly. And I need to switch screens because that little thing right down there is going to bother the heck out of me. Let's get this thing started. And you see what happens when I take a day off. Hopefully nothing else on this deal got mangled here. Try to keep everything straight. Keeps you away from Machiavellian plans. Yeah, it definitely, when you're occupied, it's hard to get into trouble, right? Glad you're doing well and everyone's keeping busy. It does seem like things have just lately gotten really, really busy, but I think a lot of it is because, well, I know a lot of it is coming from some local businesses that I've dealt with. And I would encourage all of you, anyone who's doing phone repair or offering any other sort of service where you want to get some exposure and it doesn't cost anything, create a YouTube channel, put those tags in your video description that say, well, add the tags to the video and put some descriptive terms down in the video, in the area below the video where nobody ever goes, right? But YouTube does look at that stuff when it comes to ranking your video. And if you put the words in that are relevant to your area, you know, say you're in Montreal and you put Montreal phone repair or Montreal whatever service it is you happen to offer, I think you'll see some people respond to that. It's certainly been working for me. I ask people all the time, you know, and this is another one. Sorry, this thing's going to make me nuts here too if I have to. I'm not OCD, but if something's off by a little bit, it just really bugs the heck out of me. But if you want some free advertising for your business, no matter what it is that you do, if you create a YouTube video and you put those tags and descriptive terms in there that talk about where you're at and what you do, there's a good chance that there's no competitor, you know, on your block or within a 10-mile radius that does the same thing. So, you know, putting a YouTube video together, it takes some time. You can always outsource that, have someone else do it for you. But, you know, what's involved in it as far as getting it ranked and putting it out there and having people find it, it's not that difficult, really. If you target very specific terms and geographical locations, if you want to take it one step further, you can run an AdWords campaign on YouTube. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to do that, but if you look at the cost of advertising here as opposed to a lot of the other places that we have, you know, typically come in and offer advertising, it's like, oh, you got to invest a couple grand here, a couple grand there. Well, you can't always do that, especially when you're starting out. I certainly couldn't justify for what I make per repair to spend $50 to get one person to come through my door. You know, that doesn't add up. So there are a lot of alternatives. Creating social media accounts, including YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, maintaining your Yelp reputation, which I don't recommend you spend any money with them, but you certainly want to have a page set up so that, because I mean, they get to the top of the search rankings. And I know I kind of got off on a tangent there, but I'm really happy to be able to share anything that might help someone else become successful. So if you're offering a service, at least consider putting together a YouTube video. It can be 30 seconds, 2 minutes long, it doesn't matter. Get those terms in there that tell people what you do, and there's a good chance that if there's no other competing video, when someone goes to search for something, they're going to see web pages that they can go to, they're going to see Facebook and stuff like that. But if you're the only video, you might end up at the top of the page, and that doesn't cost you anything. So if you want to promote it, you can spend, and it's literally like pennies per view. You can restrict that to your zip code. So if you only want people within, you know, this area right here to see your advertising, that's all you're going to spend money on. It doesn't, you know, advertise to someone who's thousands of miles away. That isn't going to do you any good. But I've definitely seen a return on investment for the time that I put into making the video tutorials here. So probably said enough about that. Let's get on here. Caesar, hey, how's it going? Love this type of videos. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I hope that I bring you guys some information that you find, you know, at least entertaining, if not helpful or educational in some way. And I certainly love talking tech, so this is one of my passions. What's up, Johnny Chang? Good to see you. In my town, I've been getting recognized from doing repairs local shops won't do or shortcuts they don't know, and it's easy fix that I learned from you. Oh, cool. And Caesar, I know because I follow you on Instagram that you also post images of all sorts of repairs that you do. I think that is awesome. You know, again, another free method of advertising. And really, when it comes down to it, you know, outside of word of mouth, in many cases, the best advertising really doesn't have to cost you anything, you know, and if so, very little in the way of, you know, what you have to pay for it, which is great. Because I think that the first thing that a lot of us see when we look at traditional commercials is obviously this company is spending money to kind of entice you, or, you know, hopefully at this point, we're getting beyond consumerism when we're realizing that these companies aren't saying, hey, we created this great product to make your life wonderful. We created this product to make you money. And when we try to spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in advertising, it's because we expect to get that money back. So we really want you to buy this product, which you may need or you may want, or maybe you don't really, and you're just being convinced you do. But when it comes to the service industry, one nice thing about it is that we're offering something that people actually need, to get by. So it's not a tough sell. Your screen's cracked, we can fix it. Do you want it fixed? Well, usually they do. Did the iPhone receive CPR after it was retrieved? Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So I see these, all the time. And again, everything's clickbait nowadays. This is Cult of Mac, so take that into consideration. One, anytime a manufacturer has just launched or is about to launch a new device, they and or their competitor are going to kind of put these news articles out. I'm not saying that this isn't true. I'm just saying that we expect to always hear these outlandish claims and these stories that go along with them that talk about how good their product is. Is it, maybe it really happened, but still, the bottom line is don't throw your phone in the ocean. But here's what they're saying. Your iPhone can survive getting wet, but don't drop overboard. Thank you for pointing that out. So, what do we have? IP68, I think it is on the iPhone 10. I believe it's IP68. So this phone is supposed to be able to go a maximum of 2 meters up to 30 minutes. Now that's roughly 6 feet, right? So not even at the deep end of the pool, unless you have like some, pool that doesn't, most deep ends go to like 8 feet, so you don't want your phone down there, and that's because of the atmospheric pressure created by the weight of all of that water. I think I'm using that term correctly. Also, the fact that when they test these things, it's in a laboratory, so they're very controlled conditions. When you're out in a environment where the water's moving, that makes a difference. If you go a little bit deeper, that makes a difference. If you're moving the phone around, if it's been dropped before, if it's cracked in any way, if it's been out for long enough that adhesive gasket that goes around the screen kind of shrunk up, got cold, got hot, and so forth. You get the idea, because we see phones that are water resistant, IP67, IP68, and they have water damage. It happens all the time. So obviously these things are not waterproof, and it's nice that they mention that in the article. But the story is, this guy took his iPhone. Okay, listen to this. This makes me suspicious. We decided to take the iPhone out and take some photos kayaking and stand up paddleboarding on the beach. Yeah, we decided to take our $1,000 phone to the beach, stand up on a paddleboard, and take some pictures, because sure, why not? That makes sense. And he said that he fell backwards into the water, realized that his phone was no longer in his pocket, and then probably said, why did I take my phone to the beach in the first place? Searched underwater, couldn't find it, etc., and so on. So he went home. There was no finding the phone. The Find My iPhone was not responding, and according to the article, that has something to do with the water blocking radio waves and so forth, which makes sense. And went back 8 hours later when the tide had gone out, and was able to get a signal from the phone that helped him locate the phone. Gets the handset out of the water, takes it out, and everything is working fine. So again, not something that we would probably recommend. I mean, I like fixing phones. Water damage ones are not my favorites. But no doubt people are going to read the title of this article and say, oh, hey, you can take your phone to the beach and, under 8 feet of water and leave it there for 8 hours or whatever the amount of time was. Nevertheless, Apple urges users not to deliberately get their handset wet. It says that to prevent damage, you should avoid swimming or bathing with your iPhone. Okay, I don't know who bathes. Well, I guess people use it. I was thinking, I imagine people use their phone in the bathtub. I hope they're not actually putting the phone in the bathtub to give it a bath, but I've seen crazier things before. And intentionally submerging your iPhone in water, obviously not a good idea, but of course, the first thing that happens when a new phone comes out is we get these durability tests and they stick the phone underwater, and then apparently this one may survive initially, but again, my feeling is that over time, you're going to lose the water resistance that comes from the factory when the phone's brand new. So if you want to take your chances, have fun, But just realize that your $1,000 phone, definitely back up your data, because there's a possibility that may not be recoverable, especially when you're dealing with salt water. These guys were at the beach. Salt water is particularly harmful to electronics. It is not only conductive because it contains electrolytes, but it also has salt, which is highly corrosive and leaves behind all kinds of nasty stuff that will mess up your phone. So my recommendation is don't do it. And like I said, nice thing here in the article, they actually say that. Don't do it. There's no such thing as a waterproof iPhone. Thank you. Because I see so many articles that mislead people. It's really disgusting sometimes. I do not advertise, only word of mouth. Okay. Also, Paul Allen passed away. Yeah, Carl, I wouldn't invest money advertising, probably. You know, word of mouth is definitely the best, and what we typically see is over time you just build up your clientele, and they tell their friends and friends of friends, and that goes a long ways. How would it have been if the tech gentleman had invested in a fair company that manufactures smart devices? Will the Apple oligopoly survive as of now? I am suspicious if that was an original iPhone and not a knockoff that survived. The knockoff sometimes survives better than the original. Maybe. What? Baiting sexting mermaids, perhaps. It could be. Yeah, so I have my doubts about it, but the bottom line is the same. Like they said, don't put your phone underwater. Or if you do, just be prepared for the consequences, I guess. You know, at the very least, back up your data, because that's going to be the tough part. Is when someone tells you, sorry, but there's damage to the memory on your phone, or, you know, in the case of in the case of most phones nowadays, because I want to say that as of the Galaxy S7, I think with Samsung devices at least, everything is encrypted by default. So whether you have an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy of some sort, Galaxy S7 and beyond, no chip-off data recovery, no such thing, can't be done. So that kind of sucks because a lot of companies will claim they can do that kind of stuff and send you a bill and not be able to recover your data, which is even worse. So if you guys haven't heard of this I thought was really cool. If you have not heard of Vertu, I certainly had not until... gosh, I think it was about 2012, which might be about the time that this company started. It may have been 2008, but it's going back quite a while. This is a luxury company that I believe was produced in England. It's actually owned by the Finnish, or was kind of a spin-off of Nokia. So you remember Nokia. What happened to them? We don't know. Probably not coming back anytime soon. But they made a premium brand or a premium line of phones that were pretty much designed for people who had more money than they knew what to do with. Well, they are back, apparently out of bankruptcy, and they got a $4,000 Android phone, and that is nothing. And I have a lot of questions about this for you guys. Let's see, like a very expensive Phoenix emerging from gold and sapphire tipped flames. Okay, let's be dramatic about it. So what we have here is a 4.9-inch display with 133 karat sapphire glass. Ooh, beat that, Apple. There is a grade 5 titanium frame along with a rear panel covered in lizard or crocodile leather. Now, when you get down to the specs on this device, however, this is the part that this particular publisher found underwhelming. So despite the opulent exterior, here's what we got. A Snapdragon 660 CPU, which was released last year. Oh my gosh, it's so 2017. And has 128 gigabytes of onboard storage and 6 gigabytes of RAM. An AMOLED screen with 1920 by 1080 with a 3200 milliamp hour battery. So nothing really impressive in the way of specs there. The thing about this phone, though, is not that it is designed to be top of the line, state of the art. It is designed to be a luxury phone. And it is running Android Oreo 8.1. Let's see. However, here's the interesting thing. There is a 20 megapixel front-facing camera and a 12 megapixel rear camera, which, you know, I kind of figured this was going to happen eventually. A lot of companies have to realize that people take a lot more of these than they do of those, you know, if that makes sense. So a lot more of this, a lot less of, wait, that doesn't make sense. Anyways, you get the idea, right? People are using their front-facing cameras a lot more. And I know that there was at least one other company that came out with the same type of specs for the front-facing camera as the rear, but I don't think I've seen one where the front-facing camera actually exceeds the specifications of the main camera on the back, or what we would call the main camera. Now the Aster P, which is what this thing is, costs about $4,200 for blue, brown, black, and orange models, or you can get the black, jade, and white handset in the Gothic series for about $5,100. If you have a lot of money, you can get the dazzling gold model for $14,120. Here's the crazy thing. This is nothing. Okay, so first of all, I had a Vertu, or it may have very well been a Vertu knockoff. I don't know, because there are a lot of fake Vertu phones out there. You can find them on eBay for a couple $100. There was a Ferrari version, one that we actually had in the store quite a while back, that was clearly a knockoff. It wasn't the original. But they certainly did a good job of imitating this phone. But I had a customer come in with one that was supposed to be legitimate, and at that time it was a $5,000 phone, and it had a broken LCD, and he asked me how much I would charge to repair his $5,000 Vertu phone. And my answer, of course, was you wouldn't want to spend the amount of money that I would charge you in order to accept the liability on breaking that thing. So in other words, about $5,000 is what you're looking at, because I'm not going to touch a phone and try to make $50 if I could potentially end up having to replace probably anything in that phone, because where are you going to get parts, right? You're going to probably, more than likely, just have to replace the phone, keep the other one, and you're never going to need that as a donor. So pretty much turn them away, unfortunately. And I hate to do that, but I don't want to ruin someone's $5,000 phones. I'm not really prepared to do that. Kardashian phones, yes, probably Kardashians, oil, what do you call them? The guys that have all the oil money, pretty much, like the sheiks. Hey, Nate, what's going on? Hey, gang, I'm trying to listen in the background between customers. These pesky customers that keep showing up, man. I hope you have earphones on, because I'm going to talk about customers now. Just kidding. It's like covering a jawbreaker with cotton candy. So check this out, guys. This phone, which goes up to $14,120, starts at $4,200 if you want the base model. If you want to be a cheapskate, you can get this for under $5,000. This is nothing. They also have the Vertu Signature Cobra, which is this thing, for $360,000 US. And I guarantee someone out there bought this phone, right? I don't know who, like you said, maybe one of the Kardashians, maybe Bill Gates. I don't know. Like, even if you had the money, can you justify dropping? I can think of a lot. I can think of much better uses. If you have that kind of disposable income, if you're certainly not wanting for anything, there are a lot of other people who are, and there are a lot of things that could be improved in the world. Why do you need a $360,000 phone? I mean, do you? I guess. I suppose at that point it's a status symbol. And there's probably, it's probably difficult for any of us to say, well, if I had all the money in the world, here's what I could do, because that's a hypothetical. If you got there, you might feel differently than you do today. So it's very difficult to answer that question. But what would possess someone to spend $360,000 on a phone, I would say, could only have to do with conveying status, because you're not buying anything that's going to work any better than another smartphone. And in fact, you're probably taking a step back if you, definitely if you invest in this last Vertu model. However, I happened to get on this page and I had to keep going, because this Vertu Signature Cobra is only the 8th most expensive phone in the world. And I'm not going to go through this whole page. I'll put the link down in the video description when we get finished here. This is from valuewalk.com. You should check out this entire article. They name them all off, the top 10 most expensive phones. I'm just going to show you number 1 down here, and that is the Falcon Supernova iPhone 6 Pink Diamond, which goes for, yes, $485 million. I'm speechless here. This was created, the priciest device ever created, belonging to Nita Ambani, the wife of successful businessman Mukesh Ambani in India. It's made of 24 karat gold and pink goals, okay, with a gigantic diamond on the back, as well as platinum coating and hack protection. So look at that, an iPhone that can't be hacked. That is impressive. I'm not sure if it justifies the $48.5 million, but I guess if you are the wife of Mukesh Ambani, you get what you want. That's what it looks like. Let's see. God, but the phone is butt ugly. Well, that's another thing. I don't get what, like, if you look at some of these guys, it's like, yes, you're showing me you have a lot of money, but it's not necessarily the greatest looking phone in the world. I guess that wasn't the goal. This thing right here, the 3G Kings button. I gotta say, I wouldn't use this phone myself, but it is kind of cool. It has a huge diamond right on the home button, which, you know, for Apple, that's what you want to do, right? He's responsible for the, let's see, the 3GS King button featuring gold and white gold with 138 brilliant cut diamonds. Yeah, so imagine how much money there is floating around in these and these are just phones. These people obviously have cars, homes. I mean, everything's probably encrusted with diamonds and gold plated. Crazy stuff. Does it come with the lady included? It certainly should for that price, but no. And you can't say that nowadays anyway, so. Protection developed by John McAfee. Yeah, because that's a guy you can trust. Let's move on here to Elon Musk. This is the craziest thing, okay? I don't know if you guys caught this or not, or if you listened to it, but if you don't, I recommend you check out the Joe Rogan Experience. His podcast has quite a variety of guests. Elon Musk was one of them recently, and depending on your interest, you know, you may not listen to every episode. Some of the stuff is all MMA, some of it is all about diet, some of it all is, you know, there are varied topics. But anytime he has Neil deGrasse Tyson, Elon Musk, anyone like that on there, it's always very entertaining and insightful and interesting to listen to. And of course, you know, when we saw Elon Musk being interviewed, he came off as kind of an unusual kind of guy. He's got crazy ideas. He created a flamethrower that is called not a flamethrower, so that somehow he could get, I don't know, past customs or be able to sell it without having to worry about certain laws that affected it. Because I guess if you make a flamethrower, that's one thing, but if you call it a flamethrower, that brings all sorts of other legal implications into the sale and transport of it. So I guess he outsmarted people on that. More recently, he's been in the news because of talking about taking Tesla, buying out Tesla, I think it was. In any case, he apparently is a fan of anime, which is the weird, I shouldn't say weird, the interesting Japanese animation where the characters don't actually move, you just see still images and they kind of add effects to them to make them look like they're moving, something along those lines. I remember watching that stuff when I was a kid, and then when I saw actual animation where things moved, I just thought we kind of, you know, moved past that. But it's a big deal. Lots of people into it. I don't know that much about it, but apparently he's a big fan, and now that's one of the reasons why he allegedly wants to build a giant killer robot after revealing his love for anime on Twitter. And I don't know if this is serious. I mean, this is dailymail.com, but I believe the quote is legitimate. I don't know about this specific publication. It strikes me as being a little questionable, but this is based on his Twitter revelation. So let's take a look at that. What did he say exactly on Twitter? Well, that didn't help. This took me to a complete... You guys, your links are not lined up correctly. In any case, he said something on Twitter, which apparently is not in the article here, so I'm not going to be able to quote it to you, but he talked about it. The CEO tweeted that, quote, "It's time to create a mecha," in a nod to the killer humanoid robots made popular by science fiction, probably something along the lines of Pacific Rim, if you've seen that, and a slew of anime series, including Neon Genesis Evangelion, Code something, and Gundam. I don't know what any of this stuff is, so I couldn't answer that for you, but apparently it has to do with Japanese anime. The seemingly unprompted statement came not long after Musk revealed his appreciation for the wildly successful movie Your Name, which I don't even know what that is either, that was released in 2016. So they say, don't start building your doomsday bunker just yet. He's probably kidding around. I would kind of hope he is, because he's one of the few people that would probably have enough money to build something like that. And what are you going to do with a giant robot? Where could you build this? What would the legal implications be like if you had something with the potential to, you know, step on a house, let's say? Would that be considered some sort of weapon? I need to contact my legal guy here and ask him. I have to ask Rick Georges if he has any opinions on this. Let's see. Then it just goes on to talk about he did not elaborate on the idea anymore. So more recently sparked a lawsuit from the U.S. Securities and Exchange after claiming on the social media site that he was considering taking his electric car company private at $420 per share. So you probably heard about that one, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. But could you imagine these things coming down the street? That's kind of weird. And really, realistically, probably not that far-fetched at the same time. I've been watching these Boston Dynamics robots, which are still quite a ways away from, if you didn't see the latest video, they were doing like a parkour move. Apparently it took them like 20 takes before he could actually jump from one step to the next, but it's learning and it's getting there, which means eventually we will have robots walking around doing all kinds of who knows what, and all sorts of people wondering where to point the blame when something goes wrong. Is your robot responsible? Do they have the ability to make decisions independently? Does it all fall on the person who owns it? Is it your job to make sure that your robot doesn't harm anyone else? Can you sue the manufacturer if they do? I don't know. Some weird questions that I figured I'd be long gone by the time these ever came up, but it seems like we're getting closer and closer every day, and that the technological advancements are coming faster and faster. It's not like we're at a steady pace. It's like we're just snowballing, and you know, who knows what next year is going to look like. Let's see. Elon Musk also is planning to launch his own tequila bottle. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so you were talking about that, Johnny. Yeah. So I saw the one where the Boston Dynamics robot was doing parkour. I didn't watch the twerking video. I saw that and I just kind of passed, but the parkour one, that was kind of crazy. Real world review, what's going on? Says 1, build a giant robot. 2, tell it to build a house. 3, profit. If your robot bites someone, you have to put it down. That kind of makes sense, really. I mean, if we treat it like domesticated animals, right? I mean, if your dog bites someone, what happens? I'm not sure. I think in some cases you have to put your dog down, depending on how much harm they do. But I'm not sure about that, because I think there's a lot of dog bites that go on. You don't really hear about that happening, right? I don't know. You have to check a channel called NeoScribe. The hosts make a short video about amazing Japanese robots. Okay, I will check it out. Thank you for mentioning that one. So here's the thing that I believe we should all be aware of, and we should pass this. I don't know how to do this. I will probably make a standalone video that's like a 5 or 10 minute thing where we talk about this, but everyone should know about this. And you know, whether you're in this industry or not, whether you're doing repairs, you should know, and you should tell as many people as you possibly can, because the general public gets a lot of their opinions from, you know, sources that have an agenda. And that doesn't matter if you're talking about advertisers. We know that people are paying certain places to show people what they want to. Even if you're using Google, you know, this is all biased based on what your search history is. And the most important one is that the companies who have the funding necessary to get their message out are often telling people things that are not entirely true. And that is irresponsible. It's dishonest, and something needs to be done about it. I don't know what would be the most effective way to get this word out. You know, do you make t-shirts? Do you bumper stickers? Do you just put it on social media and then everybody forgets about it next week? Do you make YouTube videos? And you know, I got on the right to repair thing for a while. You know, I forgot to switch. Let's switch to that. I have my right to repair thing down here spinning around all the time. And I know that eventually it's just kind of like, okay, it's there. You know, you ignore it, right? So I think something different needs to be done constantly. But I definitely wanted to bring this up because this is sad. And we need to let people know that it's not true. So 45 out of 50 electronics companies illegally void warranties after independent repair sting operation fines. Now, if you go into the article, that's not, I'm not sure that's an entirely accurate title, but it's pretty close to what's going on here. New research shows that 90% of contracted companies told customers that repairing their own device would void the warranty. That's illegal under federal law. Now, what's illegal? It is illegal to void the warranty on a product that cost more than $5 because someone has removed the warranty sticker or attempted to make repairs themselves, unless they have caused additional damage by trying to repair the device, if that makes sense. I know that's kind of a lot, but long story short, those little warranty stickers that say void if removed, those are bogus. They don't mean anything. Several manufacturers were recently ordered by the Federal Trade Commission to remove those stickers because they're lies. They are not true. Your warranty is not voided if you remove those stickers. Your warranty is not voided if someone fixes your phone or your car or anything else for that matter. But what these guys did is they contacted manufacturers and said, hey, what if I have somebody fix this for me? And what do you think the answer was? Let me go down here and pull up the quote. So this is in a chat for one of the companies that they contacted. I'd like to know if independent repair done by the owner of a local repair store would cause the Bissell warranty to be voided. I assume this is a vacuum cleaner. That's what it sounds like. And the response from the company was, that is correct. That statement refers to any alterations of internal parts done by the consumer or third party. Repairs should be done on our authorized service center. And so he says, again, so independent repair would void the warranty, question mark. And again, the company responded, that is correct. Independent repair of internal parts will void the warranty. However, there are some repairs that you can do, like simple troubleshooting steps. And this is false. This is entirely untrue. It is illegal for them to void the warranty, but here's the problem. I don't know that it's illegal to tell their customers that their warranty will be voided if they perform or have someone else perform the repairs for them who is not part of that company. And this is the problem, because if you look at it, you know, someone like us is going to go, yeah, this is BS. This is not true, right? But there's nothing that I'm aware of that will stop these companies from telling customers exactly that, which is in oftentimes not the customer's best interest. When you have a simple repair that can be performed for $75 and the company says, no, this can't be fixed, you need to buy another $1,000 phone. Well, obviously, that's only going to benefit one party, and that's going to be the company that made the phone, and the customer is entrusting to give them accurate information. When they make an inquiry about the warranty status of their device, you would expect that that company has an obligation to answer honestly. But if we take a look at 90% of these companies that this sting operation involved, most of them do not tell the truth. So, you know, how this is legal, I imagine, because they probably have great attorneys who were able to interpret the law and said, you know, one, you're not technically breaking any laws by advising people against performing their own repairs. I'm sure there's something there. But on top of that, when would anyone ever take a company to court? And if they did, what would they stand to gain and what would the company stand to lose? If you look at the numbers, you know, if you sell 1,000 units of something and someone actually takes you to court and says, hey, I want you to replace this for no charge, then you've replaced one out of 1,000, you're still making plenty of money. So if by definition they are breaking the law and the only thing that they can be held accountable to is actually replacing the device that they said that they couldn't, then I would think there's every reason to believe that they would continue to tell customers what is going to benefit the company on a larger scale, which is discouraging anyone from ever seeking to get their device serviced outside of that company itself, which is ridiculous for a number of reasons. On top of the fact that this is what we do, you know, a lot of us do for a living. So we want to not only earn a living, but also be able to do what's in the customer's best interests. And this is the big line that appears between small businesses and large corporations. You know, it's as if one has a soul and one just wants to make money, and that's all there is. And it's unfortunate, and there should be some sort of law that would require these companies to not be able to just straight out lie to their customers. And I don't know if that's a thing or if it could be, if it is even possible. But you would think, you know, and this is a sad thing, you know, when I remember when I was in civics class, I think it was civics, we used to talk about the Constitution and litigation and something called the spirit of the law, which meant that we had this idea that even if something is legal, that doesn't make it right. And if it goes against the spirit of the law, which is to do the right thing, to protect people's rights, then you shouldn't be doing that. But it seems like as everyone finds these loopholes where they can get away with whatever they get away with, that whole idea, I don't even remember the last time that I heard that term. I think it might just be a thing of the past. So that is unfortunate. Does void if tampered stickers are legal under states' laws, if not under federal laws? I don't know the answer to that, Johnny, but I don't think that's... I'm not sure, but I'm not... That's a good question, actually. I don't know how they apply to states, but the bottom line, when you think about that, is that if it is not legal under federal law, then no manufacturer is going to say, okay, we're going to make these devices specifically for this one state or 12 states or 10 states or whatever it is that are okay with us having this sticker on the device, if you catch my meaning. So let's say it was legal in California for manufacturers to put this void of, warranty void sticker on their devices, but they could only sell those devices in California. My understanding is that if you're selling throughout the nation, it would, the cost of making these few exceptions to this certain thing that's sold in one particular state wouldn't be worthwhile. And I may be wrong about that. I know that we have different laws when it comes to smog. So if you buy a car in one state as opposed to another, you may have different smog requirements on those cars. But I think that a lot of the manufacturers just said, you know what, we don't want to have to worry about what's different from here to here, and they just make them so that they're legal across the board. I believe that is the case, but that's a great question, actually, Johnny. I'll have to do some research to really give you a better answer on that one. I mean, it is true that the warranty may be void, but if you're a pro at repairing the phone, the companies will never know. Yeah, that's another good point. And I'm not going to dig into that one, but we have ways of... I think that we could have a better chance of determining if a phone has been worked on than a lot of technicians that are employed by the manufacturers, or at least the people that face the public in the stores. When the phones come in, there's a few things they know to look for, but I'm pretty sure they don't dig quite as deep as we do. As of now, third-party repair is more ethical than those jokers from the original manufacturer, as those from the Genius Bar. I couldn't disagree with you, Johnny. So if you didn't already know, this is illegal under the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, and you should definitely look into that if you don't already know, because you can tell your customers, here's why Sony, Microsoft, and other gadget makers are full of it when they try to tell you that your warranty is void just because there's a sticker missing or someone else opened it up with a screwdriver or whatever it is that happened. There is an actual law. This was from 1975, and if you want to check it out, it is, let's see, I'm not going to read this. This is going to be a whole bunch of legal stuff that I could not get through. I am not an attorney, but we've got definitions, rules governing the contents of warranties, and everything that is associated with that. That was passed a long time ago to protect people from things like this. But what we need, I think, is a law that protects people from manufacturers lying to them, and probably good luck with that one, because if you look at what they consider sales hype, we already know that there is lots of dishonesty when it comes to anyone representing their product. When it comes to selling goods, people are going to say things that are not entirely accurate, and it's just sort of an accepted thing that, oh, if you buy this, I don't know, who do I want to pick on? Nobody really, but if you buy this particular phone, your life is going to be great. And I mean, watch any beer commercial, and you think that if you bought one particular brand of beer, suddenly you'd be rich, sitting, by a pool with a whole bunch of people fanning you with palm leaves and feeding you grapes or something. So this is going to be a tough one, but everyone should let people know this is full of it. And I really want a t-shirt that says something along these lines, like repairing your device does not void the warranty, because it doesn't. And I don't think I've seen that one yet, but if I come across it, I will pick some up. All right, so let's see, 640. Let's go to this. Let's get past that, and this one. Okay, so you guys remember Palm? Palm just is. It's unfortunate that they went away for a while. Now they're back. At one point, I want to say HP. I think HP acquired Palm, and then they got spun off again. I mean, this company has just kind of gone downhill since probably 2010 or so. And the thing that blew my mind was when I first saw the original, I think it was the first iPhone, was it the 2G or the 3G? And, they had apps and it did all this, all kinds of stuff that phones didn't typically do. And the number of things that Palm had been doing since like 2004, I think it was 2004, 2005-ish, right around there. They were doing all this stuff way before any other smartphone manufacturer even thought of it. The problem, of course, was that Palm was not a one-size-fits-all phone or operating system. Palm OS was not as simple as pick it up and point at the picture and that's what it does. You know, you kind of had to understand the phone, and for that reason, they had a very niche audience that were enthusiasts of their brand, and everyone else said, this is too complicated, I don't want it. And as soon as something else came out that was easier, they go, this one, you know, you point at bigger burgers, you get burgers. You point at fries, you get fries. That's what I need. I don't want to have to think about using my phone. And I'm not saying that wasn't a great decision. I mean, obviously, if you look at the general public, a lot of us don't want to spend our time learning how to use a device. We want to take it out of the box and have it work and be simple to operate, right? But it's pure irony to me that Palm did so many things that everyone kind of claimed as being their innovation or their invention or something that they came up with. These guys were doing this a long time before, but the design wasn't good. Now they've got a tiny phone that's going to be a companion of some sort. I don't know how this is going to catch on. They did manage to get Stephen Curry to become one of their brand ambassadors, so whatever he says, someone's going to listen to, but I can't see too many people trading in. That phone looks like it's smaller than your hand. I mean, look at this thing. And it's running Android, of course, because, you know, Palm OS has been dead for a long time. A tiny Android phone designed to be a companion phone. So this isn't going to replace your phone. You're actually going to be carrying two phones around, I guess, at one time. I don't get the feeling this is going to fly, but who knows? A full-size device has been launched. I'm sorry, companion phone to a full-size device has been launched in the US using the brand name Palm. Well, okay. It is the size of a credit card and has two cameras, but no headphone jack and no wireless charging. So I'm sorry, but you already lost me. If not for the headphone jack, definitely for the lack of wireless charging, because didn't Palm have wireless charging like way before anybody else? Correct me if I'm wrong, real world. I know you remember this. Did they not have wireless charging like, I want to say like 2010, 2011? I could be wrong on that, but it seems like they did it before Samsung, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Time to stock up on what? Hey, what's going on, Harvey? Is that the Pixie phone? Well, it's not exactly a Pixie phone, but it could be. That was the last attempt to create something different at the dawn of iOS and Android. WebOS, right? So wasn't it Palm OS and then they switched to WebOS or something like that? Why make a tethering phone? Not very practical. Well, this is supposed to be the thing about this one. It does not rely on Bluetooth connectivity. I'll try to get to that in a second. I'm not sure they really fully explain this one. It is a companion device. Overall is cool, but the price is too much. Okay, so Palm was the first. That's what I thought. These guys were the first company to come out with wireless charging, and now they're trying to get back into the game with a phone that doesn't have wireless charging or a headset jack. So I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but okay, whatever. It has been greeted with bemusement by tech commentators and on social media. At the very least, they're going to get plenty of exposure, right? Because everyone's going to be, you know, even if they're making fun of it, they'll definitely be talking about this device. It will cost $350. Seems like a bit much for what it does. And that's only, you know, reading like 2 paragraphs into the article here. Again, if you got Stephen Curry talking about your product, though, somebody's going to see it. Somebody's going to buy it. And in fact, Kate Spade has also... fashion brand Kate Spade, obviously, has also designed a bespoke, what is that, like bedazzled? I don't even know what that means. Bespoke case for the small handset. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing exciting here. He said that it differed from other second phones because it was not reliant on Bluetooth to connect to the parent device. So does this work on Wi-Fi through the network? I don't know. I don't think they answer that question here. It probably won't make people nostalgic for the 90s Palm brand. So these guys, remember, they had the Palm Pilot way back in the day, which I bought something like this. It was actually called the Sony Clie, but it was very much like this little organizer you see here, which is funny because, man, that's taken it way back. Let's see. Anything else here interesting? So there's a phone that saves you from your phone, but what saves you from your Palm? Presumably another even smaller phone. Yeah, that makes sense. Palm used to be great, says Phil Atkin. Whoever that is, but this is off the scale stupid. If there is genuinely a market for a smaller parasitic phone because your phablet is too big to hold, then society needs an urgent reboot. Well, say what you will. We will see what happens with this, but it's strange that Palm is doing something like this and everyone else is fighting over making their phone bigger. In fact, they're even talking about the Galaxy S10 being bigger than originally planned because Now the thing is, you have to be the biggest phone on the market, which I'm sitting here struggling with this thing, going, this is too much. This is too big. I don't need that much phone. But eventually, we will have an iPhone that is almost as big as an iPad mini. In fact, I think Huawei, if I remember correctly, I just read an article where Huawei is releasing a phone that is literally the size of an iPad mini, maybe even bigger. Bespoke is custom tailored. Thank you, Johnny. Your vocabulary is far more extensive than mine. And that has changed over years. I used to know a lot more words, and I don't know, they're just evaporating, it seems like. A smartwatch is far more practical. I agree, Harvey. Oh, and right on. Thank you, Real World. I meant to mention this. Works through the network only on Verizon. Well, if you didn't lose me at wireless charging, you lost me at only Verizon, because I don't even have Verizon. So this is not how you... I don't know. We'll see. Another $10 a month. Only works for Android customers on Verizon. Interesting. Thank you, because I hadn't read that anywhere yet, and that is good to know. So it's only $10 a month, $350 to buy the phone, and you can have a second sort of extension phone if you have Verizon and you're on Android. That's a lot of qualifiers there to try to sell this thing. I think that's going to be a tough one. Huawei is also releasing a phone with more cameras than spiders have eyes. I saw that too. They're getting out of hand with the cameras. Let's see, years before Samsung was essentially the S6. The Nexus 4 was the first Android back in 2012, and Palm was 2009. So 2009, you guys had wireless charging, and really, I think if they had switched over to Android or maybe stuck with WebOS, I don't know what happened to that company, but if they had simplified things, it would have worked. Remember how everyone loved that they had a phone with unlimited contact storage? That was a big deal for Palm back then, because every other phone on the market had a maximum number of contacts you could store. With the Palm, it was only limited to the amount of storage space that you had on your phone. So you could put tens of thousands of contacts in there if you wanted to. They also had that, what do you call that? That little infrared thing. Remember, you could beam stuff. You just point your phones together. That went over like a lead balloon. And an 800 milliamp hour battery. Well, for a phone that small, you shouldn't need much, right? Perhaps Apple will announce larger iPads at the end of the month that are the thinnest and lightest ever, probably. And you know what's interesting, Greg, is someone else said this and I didn't, so I can't take credit for it, but I can't remember where I heard it. But there was a discussion about Apple not implementing touchscreens into their laptops. If you notice this, one of the things that MacBooks should have done a long time ago, would have made a lot of sense, is to have touchscreens, right? We've got the touch bar, touchpad, or whatever you call that, but no touchscreen. So, you know, being innovative and being cutting edge and staying up with the times at the very least, why hasn't Apple made a touchscreen MacBook? And then they went on to answer that question. They will absolutely not be doing that anytime in the near future because Apple wants to continue selling iPads. And if you have a MacBook with a touchscreen, what use do you have for a tablet anymore? You've pretty much got one. So, you know, that I never really thought about that before. Once or twice I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm sure they'll have a touchscreen pretty soon, but probably not, because that would totally cannibalize their tablet market. So yeah, good luck with that. Probably won't be seeing that from Apple. They're going to cerebral implants instead. That's probably true. WebOS was amazing. Now Android Pie stole the multitasking launcher. Yeah, it's tough, you know, if you're not iOS or Android at this point. Once we get to, although I did read something also about Windows, yes, Windows, having an operating system that would run applications regardless of their platform. So in other words, you can run Android applications on one of the newer Windows phones. I think it's been released. I don't know if it's out yet or it's not, but it's definitely in the works, which would be cool. And someone else, one of you guys actually told me that once we get to, I think it's 5.0 or some new version of browsers, it will actually be able to run applications without having to have the operating system installed. That would make a lot more sense to me. Apple wants to continue to sell their stupid one-button mice. Well, Apple certainly wants to continue to make money, so they're not going to do too many things that don't help them achieve that goal, right? All right, so one more here for you here. Did I just say here like twice? Yes, I did. This might tell us everything we need to know about the Galaxy S10's in-display fingerprint sensor, which I'm sure you're all interested in, not necessarily excited about. I will say, you know, objectively speaking, since I don't use a fingerprint scanner, it's hard for me to really put myself in that frame of mind, you know, considering whether or not it matters where it's located. I always thought the power button would be the most natural place for it to be located. But since I don't use Touch ID and I don't use Face ID, personally, I could care less. But this will affect most of us. If you're thinking about buying a Galaxy or you're going to be working on them in the future, when they have an in-display fingerprint sensor, is it going to be tied to the phone somehow, or will that hardware be built into the motherboard so we don't have to worry about whether or not we can replace screens? That's assuming they don't get so expensive that they're completely impractical to repair, because they're kind of approaching that point. So the thing about this is they have been working on it for quite a while. They've been talking about it since the Galaxy S8. Obviously, it hasn't come up yet, but I gotta say, it makes a lot of sense to me that if you're going to have a fingerprint scanner on the front of the phone somewhere, it should not be limited to such a small area as a home button. That really seems like it would be, you know, at the very least inconvenient. You should be able to touch your fingerprint anywhere on the screen. Not saying I like it. I definitely wouldn't use it, but it does kind of make sense, right? So there's a patent here that kind of shows something interesting where they've got, if you look at this second layer, I know that's kind of small probably for you guys, but the top layer here, which is numbered as 301, shows the front of the phone, and then underneath it you've got 321, which is the display, and at the lower edge it actually wraps around underneath itself. So this is how they're approaching, apparently, this whole Touch ID, or I don't think we can call it Touch ID, but the in-screen fingerprint sensor, I assume, will be wrapped around underneath the screen at the bottom edge, or maybe that is just the hardware that reads the fingerprint or decodes it somehow. I'm not 100% clear. Obviously, they're not going to disclose everything in their patent application, but they call this an ingenious design trick that Apple used on the iPhone X to eliminate the bottom bezel. Samsung, of course, is aware of the design, given that it makes the iPhone X or XS displays for Apple, and Apple was the first company to do this in a widely available smartphone. Also interesting is the fact that the device still features a bottom bezel. Yeah, so this is a weird thing. They're kind of doing the same thing where the display wraps around. Oh, you can't see my cursor there. But the display wraps around, or sorry, the fingerprint sensing hardware or some part of what interfaces with it wraps around underneath the bottom of the display, but you're still going to have a bezel down at the lower end. Why? I'm not sure. But it's probably going to prevent people from breaking their screens quite as often. The drawing, however, does not necessarily tell us what the S10 will look like, so obviously this is just a rough idea of what it is going to be. What's important in these images is the fingerprint sensor that's placed under the screen near the bottom of the device. So I would hope that the important part of this is built into the motherboard and not the screen itself, because that's not only going to be a headache for repairers, but for customers, if they happen to crack their screen or damage it in another way, I'm sure there will be an override with some kind of PIN code. But the more and more we start tying things together, the more that we will initially see that it's difficult for us to help our customers. And then over time, customers will realize that their options for repair are limited, and hopefully that won't be, hopefully that won't be before it's too late to do anything about it, which is why I think it's very important that people are aware of this. And obviously there's more nowadays. If you talk to the average person, most people have walked by a store in a mall or have driven by somewhere and seen that someone does phone repair. But if you go back a few years, it was amazing how working in a shop where we repaired phones, as recently as I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, how often we heard people say, "Wow, I wish I knew you guys were here earlier. I didn't know that it was possible to fix a phone." So there's still just this general perception by the public, if either it's not fixable, or if it is, it has to go to the manufacturer to get it repaired. And as I pointed out earlier, that we know that's not the case, and it definitely doesn't have any repercussions as far as the customer is concerned, assuming that A, you take it to someone who is competent in repairing the device, and B, who has some sort of way to cover the liability should something go wrong during the repair. And then, of course, you know, the bottom line being we have to educate people and let them know, no, you don't have to make an appointment and stand in line or mail your phone in to a manufacturer who's going to tell you, here's the cheapest way we can solve your problem. And that is often going to be by selling you another phone rather than performing a simple repair or looking at your phone and saying, oh, there's a little red sticker on there. You know, your phone, it doesn't look like it got wet, but once that sticker turns red, you're done. We can't fix it anymore. It's impossible to do anything with this. All of your data's gone. You have to buy another phone. This goes into a landfill. Whatever it is that we have to do to get that information out to people really needs to happen. Even for the ones that are coming in for repairs. In many cases, I suspect that customers assume that they don't, you know, now it's an option to come to us because A, they're out of their warranty period, or B, they went to whatever store and were told, sorry, we can't help you, your phone's out of warranty, and then we were their second choice. And it certainly doesn't have to be that way, but how do we get the information out there and let people know, you know, without coming across as trying to sell what it is, you know, trying to promote your own service selflessly, right? I mean, I believe that all of us want to do what is best for the customer, even if that sometimes means sending them to the manufacturer for a more practical solution. I don't know the answer to that one. Anyhow, when is Apple going to invent a patent, invent and patent a one-key keyboard, which is what a big apple in the center of it probably. Remember to like this stream. Mike needs more exposure on YouTube's algorithm. That is so true. Thank you for reminding me, Harvey. I always forget this, you guys, and I hope for those of you that do, I certainly appreciate it. Your comments and your upvotes definitely help me out. There are probably a number of things that I should be doing to get, you know, to get into YouTube's good graces as well. But there are some things that I refuse to do, and number one is selling out. So, you know, I want to give people what they want to see, but I don't want to give things, I don't want to give in to what advertisers are pressuring people to do. I can't, you know, it just goes against everything that I believe in. So hopefully I can get the support of people who want to see my content regardless. And, you know, it's crazy when you really look at what's happening. And I use some software that kind of tracks things that's going on with YouTube, and it's crazy the way their stuff works. You know, nobody knows exactly how you know, we have rough ideas of how the algorithm works, but I've seen some channels that have come out and said that they have just dropped out of the organic, you know, the browse feature. They're not being suggested anymore, and nobody really seems to know exactly why. So it's an odd thing, but I'm suspicious about the demonetization of a lot of channels and the fact that it's so sensitive now to just use particular terms. You know, if I put heat gun, which is a, you know, when used properly, a tool for repairing phones or removing adhesives and not for injuring other people, you know, that can get my video in trouble. So it's pretty weird. We're just like we're so on edge nowadays about someone saying the wrong thing. Anyways, I'm off on a tangent there again. Sorry about that. Let's get back to the last minute of this stream. So I will come back next Monday. I think we'll be doing some live repairs. I just realized I got everything set up to do repairs on my bench, and I think I need a third camera so you guys can kind of see what I see in addition to the microscope, and in addition to, well, actually, you don't need to see my face. You just need to see the area that I'm working on. But I need a better way to set up a camera, kind of an overhead thing. I should have that worked out by Monday, so I'll be doing those. And I think that's it. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who watched the 9/11, I got to show you this. This is pretty crazy. Let's go to my channel real quick. Nate, I am going to have to, and Real World, we're going to have to do more conspiracy stuff because look at this. You remember we did this 9/11 conspiracy thing? Let's put this on the screen. Why are you not showing up? Oh, I need to get this tab over here. Come on. You go right there. Okay, so remember we did this conspiracy theory thing just for fun, just for the entertainment, just because we thought it was interesting. Well, we ended up, right now we're at 6.2 thousand views on that, so I think we need to talk about some more conspiracy stuff in the near future. It's definitely entertaining, insightful. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know about. Just have to determine what the topic is. And as much as I think it's kind of ridiculous, and obviously I'm biased, I have my own opinions, everyone keeps recommending that I do Flat Earth next. I don't know if that'll be the next one, but, you know, maybe it will be. It's certainly a controversial topic and one that anyone is going to have a difficult time convincing me of. But I'm certainly open to hear opinions. I mean, that's what makes this life great, is being able to hear what other people think, even when you don't agree with them, right? I hope some people still think that. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining me. I appreciate the support. I'm going to get back to work. I've got piles of devices on my desk that I need to get fixed, so hopefully some more tutorials coming out very soon. Have a great weekend, and hopefully I will see you next week. If not Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be back on Thursday at 6. Have a great one.